How you doing? How you living? How you feeling, folks? We're back for another episode of the Bases Loaded podcast, brought to you by the Idiots Podcast Network. And I'm here with my, my normal number two, Adam. How you doing, baby?
Doing really good. As much as college basketball March Madness is going on, I am still thinking so much about baseball and excited for this season.
Oh, me too, man. I'm pumped. So, what we're gonna do here today, we're gonna talk about our team preview for the AL Central. Really see kind of how we're feeling about this division, what we're thinking here. So, we're just gonna get right into it. Obviously, we're gonna do the same thing we've been doing, and we're gonna, go from worst to first. The teams we think in order are gonna be in their division, come year's end. So, with that all being said, let's get right into it. So, for our number 5 team in the AL Central, Adam, I believe we have the same team here, and that's going to be the Detroit Tigers.
Yep.
This team doesn't have a lot to offer. They seem pretty directionless. I mean, it really comes down to how bad their pitching staff is right now. I mean, they have Spencer Turnbull, unproven, Matt Manning, unproven, Matthew Boyd, who's been good in the past, but, he's been a little shaky since, and I just Erod, there's just not a lot here.
With the loss of Casey Mize to Tommy John surgery, every Tigers fan was hoping that he would show up, improve off last year, and become maybe that number one on this staff as a young guy. But with him out for the whole year, now they kind of look directionless in this rotation. I don't like any. They do have some vets and they do have some young guys in that rotation, but that is without a doubt their weak point of this team because their lineup isn't the worst. They do have some pop in their bats, but
their lineup's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie to you.
They can hit some home runs. Every single person on this list has the chance of doing it, but that's about it. They're not going to be, scoring runs for hit after hit. It's either long ball or bust for this team, and they're not particularly good at that. So,
I mean, and here's the thing, right? They have a lot of young guys on this roster. They're not the biggest veteran-run team here. Think about it this way. They got Riley Green, a guy who's really just had a cup of coffee in the majors. Same thing with Spencer Torkelson. These are two very high-end prospects that we're really going to get to see have a full year of service time and really get to, get accustomed to the league. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be very interesting this season. But then there's a lot of other guys who've maybe played a year in the league, like Nick Maton and Akil Baddoo, guys who are pretty young and kind of ready to make their mark in the league. I mean, they got 3 vets in the lineup, like Baez, Meadows, and Scope, but I don't think they can add that much, to a lineup that really doesn't have truly anything else definable as of right now.
Yeah, nothing definable. Those 3 guys, the only thing I like about them is they're popping their bat. They may hit 20 home runs, or like close to it, maybe a little less of each of them, but they're not getting on base a lot, and neither probably are the young guys just yet. They still have a lot to grow for their young guys, and their veterans are not particularly, top-notch, very good for what they are. So, yeah, not much to be really looking forward to, except for hopefully a Torkelson, comeback season after not a good rookie season. And hopefully Riley Green, jumps out of the page as well. But you're banking on the young guys. The Tigers know where they are. They have a lot of work to do before, they even consider being good again.
No, I definitely agree. So, Adam, we'll keep this train rolling because there's not a lot to say about the Tigers. So, what was their record last year?
The Tigers were 4th in their division at 66-96.
So their over/under for this year is at 68.5.
68.5.
Are you taking that or are you dumping it?
I mean, I'm kind of surprised that they did win 66 games last year. So I might have to take the under. They didn't really do anything to add to this team.
No, not at all. I'm also going to take the under here. I don't think this team has really improved whatsoever. And they still have Javi Baez, a guy they're going to pay a gajillion dollars to just kind of hit 20 home runs and bat 220. Have a decent fielding day at shortstop. Like I'm not a fan.
They're paying all him this money to swing at sliders in the other box.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's not going to add a lot of value. So I'm definitely taking the under here at 68.5. I just don't think Detroit is going to be that type of team. and they really haven't shown that they've been able to be that type of team.
Exactly.
So we'll keep moving on down the line. Our number 4 team, our number 4 team is going to be the Kansas City Royals. Now, there's a team full of a lot of young guys, similar to the Detroit Lions. They got Bobby Witt Jr., MJ Melendez, Vinny Pasquantino. They got some young guys up and ready to go. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm actually excited for this team. I like the direction they're heading in. They feel a lot. They feel like they at least have a direction in comparison to the Detroit Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I really do like, something I enjoy, and it's awesome to see this team have so much homegrown talent. If you look at their roster, really the only guy they've gotten from in their actual lineup that they've gotten from outside of their own organization is going to be Edward Olivares, which I'm going to be honest with you, it's not a bad thing. I mean,
no,
I really like that they're going for the homegrown talent. They're really trying to see what they have, what they got, and how they can utilize it correctly. So I like this team. I like the direction they're going in. Maybe Franmil Reyes can add a little pop to that lineup potentially. If he's able to come back and do the things that we've seen him do in his career before. But what I will say is that this team is a little lacking in the starting rotation department. They don't really have anything crazy. Maybe Brady Singer can be their young guy that just kind of surpasses all expectations here. But they got old head Zach Greinke. They got Ryan Yarbrough. They have some arms that'll, some MLB arms that can definitely get the job done, but not a ton to offer. And that includes the bullpen. Not a ton to offer.
Yeah. That is definitely their weak spot. But what you said before is that they do have a direction. All these homegrown guys that they have in their lineup is exactly what they want. With such a low salary cap, this is how they were successful in 2015 and 2014. They had so many homegrown guys, a lot of good trades that they did, and this is exactly what they're looking for. Now you have so many young guys in this lineup that are projected to be so well. Bobby Witt Jr. is seeming to pan out perfectly as they want him to.
He played great through 100 games last year. He played literally phenomenal.
And you hope that now Melendez and Pasquantino, I don't know how to say that. Pasquantino. Jesus Christ.
There you go.
Hopefully they pan out a little. And now that they get Salvador Perez back for the beginning of the season and now for the majority of the season, unlike last year, I expect a little more from this team. A little more growth from Bobby Witt, more talent from the minor leagues now coming up. And you just got to hope that some of these guys in their starting rotation can have a above average year and they'll win a couple extra games.
I mean, the Greinke can definitely do that. Greinke's one of those guys who's been around the league for so long, all of a sudden he can pop off and have another phenomenal season. I mean, he's been able to do it before. He can do it again. So I mean, guys like Zach Greinke can really add a lot of value to a team like this. So
definitely.
It's going to be very interesting to see how they play going forward. I really like this team. I like it. I like that they're young, they're getting better. They're not the greatest team yet, but they definitely have a direction of where they're going.
Yeah.
So, look, man, I'm just going to hit you with it. There's not a lot else to say about this team.
No, there isn't. I like them a lot, and they're young. They have, considering against the Tigers, the Royals have a direction.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So, where did the Royals finish at last year?
Royals finished last in their division at 65 and 97, one game under the Tigers.
Interesting, because their over-unders at 68.5. Same thing as Detroit.
So, that is also tough.
I know what I'm taking.
I want to take the over because, they're young, they're not experienced, but they have talent, and you like to see talent in this league. But getting 69 wins for a team like this is also not the easiest thing in the world. Can they get 70? Yeah, I could see it. I'll take the over. I think they can do it. Some teams got to win some games, and I think they're going to find ways to win it. Their bats are going to be rolling. Yeah, I think they do it. I do like the over.
Well, I'm glad we agree on this because I'm definitely an over guy right now. I like the over on Detroit. I think Detroit has a good possibility to make this work. And Jesus,
yeah,
Detroit.
That's not Detroit.
Sorry, wrong team. Same over under. I like Kansas City. I like their opportunities here, and I think with the young talent they have in their roster now, I think that over 68.5 is definitely a hit for them.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very reasonable. So, with that being said, we'll move on down the line. Now, we do have a little bit of disagreement here in our number 3 spot. I'm going with the Twins to finish third in the division. Now, who do you have finishing third in the division?
I don't blame you for that pick at all. I have the White Sox here, but let's talk about the Twins because I could very well also see them not being too well. Talk about the Twins.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So look, I mean, they got some great bats. Obviously, we saw them get Correa back this year. That was huge.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them, really not do a ton else free agent wise. I mean, I know that they ended up trading for Pablo Lopez, which was a huge pickup for this team. They went out, they got Joey Gallo, and they got Christian Vasquez. They really tried to shore up the end of their lineup with a couple other pieces, like Michael A. Taylor. But they didn't do a lot, in their bullpen or really anywhere else pitching wise. So I'm intrigued to see where this team goes. Their starting pitching isn't great. They have Pablo Lopez. They have some vets. Like it's an interesting bullpen. It's not bullpen. It's an interesting rotation. It's gotten a little better, but it's still interesting at that. You got a guy like Sonny Gray who can be very inconsistent at times. Taylor Mahi has been in the league for a little bit. He knows how to get it done. And same thing with Kenta Maeda. But these might be guys that are going to be teetering on that 4 ERA, making them pretty much just like any other pitcher.
Yeah, the pitching staff is very interesting because they obviously have a clear number one in Pablo Lopez. He's going to have a great season. He was having great seasons in Miami, and now maybe hopefully he just keeps repeating that. And then 2 through 5 between Gray, Ryan, Mahi, and Maeda. They're all pretty average pitchers. I think I'm going to see 2 of them that exceed expectations, and 2 of them that maybe don't. I couldn't tell you for sake who's gonna those 2 are gonna be.
That's fair.
But their bullpen at the same time, they got some guys that can hold the fort down, especially at the end of games. I like Jorge Lopez. I like
Johan Duran, baby.
I like them. I like them a lot. That's a great 1-2 punch to come out of your bullpen for the 8 and 9 inning. But as long as everybody else, somebody like Thierbar can hold down that extra inning when the starting pitcher doesn't, the pitching shouldn't be awful compared to other teams, especially in this division. The back end of the lineup is what really scares me. I don't like Joey Gallo. Christian Vasquez is an average catcher at the hitting position, but he's not going to produce you anything special. Neither is Kirilloff. Neither is Michael A. Taylor.
Kirilloff is looking more and more like a bust every year. Every opportunity we get to see him, which really is disappointing. I mean, he's still a very young guy, so has a lot of opportunities to grow. I mean, he's a 25-year-old with barely over a year's time worth of play in the league. So there's a lot to be said for him. He can still really do something, but there's a lot of work to be done. I think this team is going to end up missing, the fact that they traded away Luis Ariz, a guy that really did add a lot of pop to this lineup. And I'll be honest with you, without him, this lineup, this back end, the 5 through 9 is looking a little shaky.
Yeah, that's what scares me.
So I think that, losing a guy like that is definitely going to affect your lineup, especially when you don't really, make too much of an effort to truly replace him. But, they definitely needed the pitching, and I think this lineup is going to be interesting. I just don't think they're going to have enough to get it done, especially with how shaky Byron Buxton has been due to the fact that, he's had a lot of, injury issues. This is a guy that if he could play a full season, could be one of the best players in the league, except the fact that he just hasn't played a full season in years. So this is going to be a huge asterisk on Byron Buxton's name, and that puts a huge asterisk on the Twins as a whole, because when you're potentially your number one player isn't going to play games, how are you going to win? How are you going to win?
Yeah, you can't.
How is it possible? So that's my thing with the Twins. I'm really not a fan of that. I think that there's going to be a lot of discussion about Byron Buxton towards the end of the season if he's not able to really play for this team. So that'll definitely be interesting for sure. So Adam, I gotta know, what are the Twins finish at? Jesus Christ! Did I stutter? Oh Lord!
The Twins finished third in their division last year at 78 and 84.
That's 78 and 84.
Yep.
You know what? It's crazy because their over-unders at 84.5 this season, and I'm gonna have to go with the under for Minnesota.
I could see them still being I could see them getting 84 wins, still being a positive team, but not hitting that mark. Yeah, I can't see them getting 85 wins.
Their pitching just tells me they're not going to get 85 wins.
Yeah, and their
that's
back
going to be
end,
the most difficult part, especially with the back end of a lineup that's not going to be able to produce runs even close to the first three guys really in their lineup. And beyond that, I mean, it's going to be a hard time really getting any crazy type of production out of these guys. I mean, you're going to end up having Joey Gallo hit like 25 home runs, batting 200. So you don't expect him to get on base much. It's just,
I don't even know if he can do that. I don't like Joey Gallo.
It's going to be a very interesting season. It really is. So
yeah. I
don't necessarily like all the things they did this offseason. I think they could have went in a little bit of a different direction, got some more reliable guys. But, they did go out there and tried to shore up some of the back end stuff. I mean, they did an okay job with it. I'm taking the under. Adam, are you taking the under?
I'm going to take the under as well.
Under has been taken. I'd recommend you might want to put some money down on that one. Doesn't look too bad at all, I'll tell you that. So, we're going to get right down to it. We got two teams left. So, Adam and I disagreed. He originally had the Twins above the White Sox. I had the White Sox above the Twins to finish second in the division. So, with the White Sox, I like this team. I like Tim Anderson. I love Luis Robert if he could stay healthy. Benintendi's a great sign. If Eloy can stay healthy, he'll hit you some bombs from a DH spot. They got some good talent there. I like this team. I like the things that they have here. And really, they can be an explosive squad at a moment's notice. It's just, is Luis Robert going to stay healthy? Is Tim Anderson going to stay on the field? Is Grandal really anything anymore? Is he just an old fart that's still kind of in the league? It's rough in that regards, but they really do have a halfway decent lineup. They got a lot of pop potential, and I like that about the lineup.
Yeah, definitely some pop potential. The Benintendi signing is very underrated and a very good signing. I like his game a lot. He gets on base plenty and does a little bit of everything, especially in the field. I do enjoy him a lot. But and they're starting pitching too. Dylan Cease is obviously, people are putting him up there for a potential Cy Young candidate. And Lance Lynn is still a really good pitcher. Lucas Giolito may be on the downfall, but even behind that, Clevenger and Kopech are still two solid pitchers that could have a nice bounce-back year and be a solid pitcher out of this rotation.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, I like their rotation. They got some real deal arms in here. Lance Lynn's always been a baller. He's going to continue to ball. If Giolito can really step it up and get back to a place where he was, I mean, he could be a potential Cy Young guy if he's able to get to the place that he was a couple of years ago. Clevenger's a great pitcher, before the Tommy John. Let's see how he plays after the Tommy John. I like Kopech. Kopech throws gas. So I'm excited for this starting rotation. But really, I think that something that's a little undervalued here is how good their bullpen is. Guys like Joe Kelly and Aaron Bummer and Kendall Graveman are able to hold down the fort. I mean, they even have guys like Jake Diekman, a lesser-known name, but definitely someone who's going to help out this bullpen a lot. So I really do like this direction that bullpen went. I think the bullpen's probably the most reliable piece, and and we're excluding Liam Hendriks because sadly he got cancer. So we send our prayers out for him. We hope he gets better soon. Can return to the field. But without Liam Hendriks, which it looks like they're not going to have for this season, this bullpen is still rocking. I really like it. I think that'll really help them finish off games. They're a team that can definitely score runs. So with that kind of formula, it makes me think that it bodes pretty well for them to, kind of see a potential, division winner. Even if they finish in second place, I think they're going to definitely be vying for the top spot in this division.
They have a lot of what takes to win multiple games, takes to become a winning team, and a above 500 team. And with Tommy La Russa being out as manager, that itself will win them a couple extra games because he was losing brain cells. It was bad.
Look, sometimes it's not good to, that old style of baseball doesn't work the same as it used to. So bringing him into a lineup full of young kids, it's such an old style of managing. It was a very odd choice, and clearly it didn't work out. So I'm glad that this is kind of it's going to be a different type of year, a little bit restructured from the management position, which is definitely going to help out this lineup.
Yeah, I think so. You got to hope that this team stays healthy, and we'll have that pop in their bat like you're hoping that they do, and hopefully that the back end of their rotation as well doesn't give out too early on. That's what you're really hoping for, and if that all works out, yeah, they got a really good contention to be second place, obviously, and maybe even that top spot in this division.
No, I mean, I like that. So, Adam, where'd the White Sox finish at last year?
The White Sox finished second in this division at a 581-81.
So, their over-under for this year is actually going to be at 83.5.
83.5.
So, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm taking the over. I like where the White Sox are heading. I think they're going to be a good team this year. I think it'll be fun. I don't think they're going to get much too far past the over. They might be in that. I don't think they're going to leave the 80 wins column necessarily, but I still think that they're going to end up, definitely being close for that top spot.
I took the under for the Twins, yet I was kind of saying how the Twins will be in that second place spot. I will also take the over on the White Sox. However, I think both teams are going to be like 84 win teams, and it's just the way that their lines are. It's weird to say, and it's a really small place to live in. I think they could be just two 84 win teams. They win games in different ways. But,
I'm surprised you didn't take the under. I really thought you were going to take the under this one.
No, I'll take the over. I think they have a chance to win more games than they do to lose games. But
that's fair. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
But it's super close to the Twins. Both seasons could go in either direction by mid-August. You don't know what's going to happen by then.
No, I mean, that's very, very true. So look, in our first place squad that we have for this year, we think that the Guardians are gonna repeat, and that they're gonna go back to the promised land. Try to do some fun things in the playoffs this year. So, with our prediction winners being the Cleveland Guardians, Adam, what do you think about this squad?
I love the squad all of last year. You got to remember they were one game away from going to the ALDS against the Houston Astros. That's incredible for this team, for such a young team as well, that has really built their team off of great trades and a couple homegrown guys. I couldn't say more about them. They're the one knock on them is that they didn't have a lot of pop in their bat last year. They're a very fast team, stole bases, got home, scored runs through their speed. They go out and they sign Josh Bell as their first baseman, and that adds that perfect pop that you want from a switch-hitting first baseman. And everybody else here is going to be stealing bags, getting on base. They play old-school baseball that you really never see very often, and teams sometimes don't know how to play against it. Everybody on this team hits the ball, puts it in play, doesn't strike out, and that's exactly what you want from a team, a good team. Does all the little things right, and that's what this lineup does.
No, I definitely agree, and I think the craziest part about this is that this team is one of the few teams that can have what I believe to be, 3 to possibly 5 players in this lineup that can have 20-plus steals. And that's something that's going to end up being a game changer when you're able to fly around the bases like that. It's going to be huge, and I think that's something that a little bit more underrated, but something that this team definitely specializes in that a lot of other teams don't really think about as much. Stealing bags, and I really like that that's a big part of their game. Now, with that being said, I also want to talk about Mike Zunino, an offseason pickup that they had. A guy that might not necessarily be the best hitter, might not necessarily be the best catcher, but definitely adds a lot of pop to this lineup, something that Adam said had been sorely missed, and I definitely agree with, had been sorely missed outside of every other player besides, Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
So I like this squad, man. I like what they got. They brought up rookie Oscar Gonzalez to play in the outfield this year. So I think this team is going to be fun. I think they got some cool possibilities ahead of them. And really, we haven't even talked about their starting rotation yet. And I love their starting rotation.
Might be up and down the top 5 rotation just because of how very good all 5 of these pitchers are. They're all very consistent, very similar pitchers. They're great.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, look, man, Tristan McKenzie, he's a young guy. He's been He's proven himself to be a baller over the last 2 years. If he can get another full season in, I'm really excited for the possibilities of Tristan McKenzie, what he has. I'm excited to see Shane Bieber back on the field, doing what he does best, pitching the baseball, getting it done. And the back end of the rotation is full of three kind of younger guys who have only had a good couple years in the league, about 3-4 years, and these are all very similar pitchers between Cal Quantrill, Aaron Savall, and Zach Plesac. And you know what? Here's the thing. I think that one of them can end up stepping up and becoming a little bit better of a pitcher, and then all of a sudden you have a nice little three-headed monster going on. And I think that this team could be special for that. I think that being one of the only teams in the AL Central to really have awesome pitching, kind of like the White Sox, I think that's really going to go the extra mile and kind of elevate them to where they were last year, if not to higher grounds.
Yeah, they definitely do, in my opinion, have the best starting rotation in this division. And especially, I love Cal Quantrill. He had a really good year last year for people not knowing who he was. And Plesac and Savale, is that who you said?
Aaron Savall.
Savall. Yeah. I'm bad at pronouncing names.
Yeah, I know. It could be a lot worse, though.
Names are like my weak suit in about literally everything in life.
Names are hard, man.
They're hard.
Names are hard.
You just meet somebody, and I literally I'll forget your name in an instant. I'll ask like 5 times. No idea. But pitching, these guys are great. This back end can hold up to. They're not going to give up bullshit runs. They're not themselves going to lose them games compared to these other teams' back-end rotations that will let up big innings, big runs. These guys won't do that. And then you go back to down to their rotation, and obviously you've got to immediately look at Emmanuel Clase, who had an absolutely incredible season last year.
Yeah, Clase out of the pen, he really is a class act. I mean, he's definitely one of the best closers in this league, and could potentially be the best depending on what happens with Edwin Diaz this season. Recent reports said that may potentially have a right knee injury, so we're on the lookout for that as current Met fans. It's an interesting life, so We'll see what happens.
And Class A has been doing this for like 2 years now, and he's got another year to be a really, really good reliever, really good closer. They rely on him big time, but he's been able to step up, pitch 70+ innings in a year, and
really just be an effective closer, man.
Lights out.
He throws some of the hardest stuff from the pen. I mean, he has a great cutter and a great fastball. He gives people the Mariano Rivera treatment. It's hard to hit a cutter that's moving at 100 freaking miles an hour. I mean, granted, Mariano didn't throw 100 like that, but it's hard as hell to hit a cutter that moves at 100 miles an hour. So Clase is definitely something else. He's definitely an awesome guy to have in your pen. They got other guys like James Karinchak and Tyler Stefan. They really have this ability to kind of help out with the, with maybe some early game pitching falters with their bullpen. Their bullpen's definitely here to kind of help out and really secure the line for this team. So, with all that being said, I like where the where the Guardians are. I like where they're going. This is definitely a team that had a direction a few years ago, changed their direction, and is just as successful with that. I'm very excited about this roster. I'm very excited to watch Andres Gimenez have another great year. So, with all that being said, Adam, what did they finish at in last year's rankings?
We didn't even say Jose Ramirez's name during that entire time.
Point. Dude, he almost won MVP last year in the AL.
And the fact that we didn't say his name just proves how underrated he is, and it's kind of disgusting how underrated he is. I love him so much. He does everything so perfectly, especially being a switch hitter. I just wanted to point that out there. We don't have to talk too much about him. He's one of my favorite players in this league.
Nah, that makes sense. I mean, the man speaks for himself with his stats. I mean, they're just unfreaking believable.
Every year, too.
So
the Guardians were the division winners last year at 92-70.
92-70? All right. So their over-under is actually a little bit smaller this year. They're at 86.5 games. I'm hitting the over.
I'm hitting the over.
I think this division might be like Cleveland might finish at 88, 89 wins. We see the White Sox finish, at like 85 wins, and then the other three teams end up being, sub-winning culture. And I think that that's a very possible thing. So I'm definitely going to go with a Cleveland over here.
Yeah, I could definitely see Cleveland getting 90-plus wins again. They had such a great season last year. It's hard to see them not do it again, in my eyes at least.
No, I know what you mean. So, look, from us at the Idiots Podcast Studio, we'll go over our rankings one more time. We had Detroit in last, Kansas City in, fourth place. We had Minnesota in third. Adam had Minnesota in second. But I also had the White Sox in second versus Adam had the White Sox in third. And we both had Cleveland in our number one spot take the AL Central crown. So, folks, from us at the Idiots Podcast Studio, I'd like to thank you for coming out. Thank you for everything. Thank you so much. And with that all being said, have a great day.